Hello everyone and good day to you. This is Roger with Groovis Games Unlimited and welcome to the next video in the Showcase series. I am so happy to be back doing these videos and first of all, I hope you guys are doing good. Thank you for joining me. I hope that you're enjoying the first few days of fall. I can't believe summer's gone, but I'm looking forward to the holiday season and this behemoth shipping out to you in the next few months. Real quick, before I forget, there was an awesome Kickstarter update I just dispatched. Actually, you might have saw the video. I always do a video Kickstarter update. The link is in the description and the comment section if you'd like to go look at the Kickstarter update. It was quite the grandiose one, I would say. The revised rulebook, guys, is out there for you. It's been getting excellent reviews. Thank you on behalf of me and the amazing Ilpo, who is pretty much the editor on it, and Charlene, one of the tech writers. Only 46 pages now, very quick and to the point, and it's just been getting really nice reviews. We put a lot of work into it, so thank you. I love you guys. So download it, check it out. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised by that. And you may notice a little thing in the back. I just wanted to point this out real quick. This was this huge banner that I did some graphic design for a while back for the conventions. Actually, it was for Geekway, but we'll be taking this to a few other conventions, hopefully in the near future. And so I decided I'd bring it out, even though you really can't see most of it. I just thought we could bring it out here and you guys could check it out. So there you go. And my idea was, when I put all this together, I was trying to make it like a movie poster, you know, like Enter the World of Dungeon Crusade, Book 1, Genesis of Evil. And so there was my bad movie voice impression. So there we go. I decided I'd break that out and show that to you. But what we are doing today is, I wanted to tell you, I'm sorry for the delay with this next showcase video. Guys, it's been so busy getting out that Kickstarter update, and there were so many nice comments and messages and emails. I was spending days getting back to everyone. So we're caught up. We're back in our showcase video. So let's talk about what this one is about. Okay, in today's video, we're going to talk about two things. One of the things I've been so excited to talk to you guys about is the patrol route system. And there's the footprint, patrol route die. And don't worry if this is all green to you. By the end of this video, I think you're really going to love this. And here's like the new classic skull design patrol route dice. Both dice work exactly the same. They just have different symbols on it. So we're going to be talking about the patrol route system, and I'm going to do my little lecture on when I devised it for Dungeon Crusade. But right here, here's one of the monster spawn points. But you're going to notice that there's these footprints. There's an orange one and green one, blue and purple. So that pertains to the patrol route system. So we're going to get into that. We're going to discuss the patrol route system. It's a very easy game mechanic, but you're going to love what it does. It provides this like living dungeon experience. And then we're going to kind of shoot back to the monster phase. And I want to chat with you guys about minions, vagrant minions when they convert into raiding minions. Hopefully you guys have seen that in the other video. I would encourage you to go watch that first, maybe, or you can just hang out here. You'll get the hang of this. It's not hard at all. So we're going to talk about raiding minions and these bloody arrows on the floor, and how some of the bloody arrows have numbers on it. So there's some good stuff we're going to chat about today. I think we'll have fun with it. All right, so let's get going with the patrol route system. Okay, let's first discuss the patrol route system. And I just want to give you some quick history on it. Some of you may already know this, but here it is. Ever since I was young, you know, I've played these types of games. I absolutely love them. But what I have always wanted is a living dungeon. And what I mean is, while my heroes are, you know, within this massive labyrinth, you know, trying to complete quests, I wanted the monsters and creatures to have like this invisible AI where they would have unpredictable movement patterns. You know, the monsters are creeping around the dungeon, the boss monsters, guardians, and my heroes are kind of in the thick of it all. And that's just something I always wanted to do. So years ago, when I started working on Dungeon Crusade, I developed the patrol route system exclusively for Dungeon Crusade and a few other games in the series. So basically, the patrol route system it gives the monsters and creatures unpredictable movement patterns throughout the dungeon, and you'll never know where they're going to move next. Okay, so that's pretty much what the patrol route system is. So let's get down into the dungeon and let me explain this for you in depth. And I always seem to pick on our skeletal grunt friend. So we're going to use him for our demo here for the patrol route system. I'm going to move him out of the way. And hopefully I got you close enough. So this is a monster spawn point. You know, if you've watched the other videos, you know that there's monster spawn point 1 through 8. But there's also skull pile nodes all over the dungeon. And remember what we learned before, a quadrant. What is a quadrant? It's a 6 by 6 square area of the dungeon. So I'm going to lift the camera up in a second, but you're going to notice that the dungeon is made up of all these 6 by 6 quadrants. They're all over the place. So every quadrant is 6 by 6. So within a quadrant, you're either going to have a monster spawn point and actually I'll just move you over so you can see this. This is a skull pile node. Notice there's no numbers. It's just these skulls and bones and this like murky purple stuff. But we can see those patrol routes coming off of it. So it's like that in all of the quadrants of the dungeon. Every quadrant has either a monster spawn point node or the skull pile node up there. Now notice there's these, well, they're monster footprints. There's an orange footprint, a green, a purple, and blue. So let me get our die here. This is the patrol route die. It's a D8, but it has each of those monster footprints on 2 sides. So it's even. So what a monster will do, let's say a monster it's spawned in on 8. And we're not going to talk about the raid die right now. We're going to get into that in like part 2 of this video. And I'm going to try to put part 2 within this one. So let's take a look. It's the monster phase. It's the skeletal grunt's turn. And notice right here, it comes into focus. Okay, movement D6 plus 2. So that's telling us it's going to roll a D6, and that has a base movement of 2. So we're going to, of course, roll the D6, but we're also going to roll the patrol route die. And I've said this so many times, think of this like it's spinning over his head. Like this is his little brain, and he is thinking which way to go. Because with the patrol route system, you never have to think for the monsters. The monsters do all the thinking for themselves. To me, that makes it more immersive, more thematic, where you don't have to, wonder, well, I think the monster will move here. You never have to do that in Dungeon Crusade. So let me show you how this works. So we're going to take a D6. We'd be rolling the raid die also, but we're going to just leave that out for now. And we're going to roll the patrol route die. Try to roll it right here. Okay, so there's 5 generated 5 movement plus 2, that's 7. We can see this is the blue monster footprint. Quite simply, it is going to move 7 spaces on the blue patrol route. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Move you up a little bit. So, and what I do is I just like face it in the direction it's moving. That way you can remember it. It's quite simple. See how he's like looking this way? So he is on the blue patrol route. Now let's fast forward to the next turn. He is heading, of course, into Ruins of Hanvir. You do not roll the patrol route die again because it's already on a patrol route. So we're just going to roll for movement again. Again, we'd be rolling the raid die, but we'll get into that in part 2. Roll. Okay, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, plus its base movement of 2. 1, 2. We move you up again. Now notice it is on a skull pile node. I'm glad that came up. So that would end its turn. But let's say that the skeletal grunt rolled a 6. you would have 2 movement remaining, right? So what it's doing is, it moved there, it has 2 movement remaining, so now it's thinking, which way am I going to go? It's like spinning around in his head, his little brain, as I call it. You're simply not going to roll this, you're just going to roll this, and it's going to decide where it's going to move in the dungeon next. Okay, purple. If we look, purple is right here. 1, 2. And it's heading into the siege tile to pick up another patrol route on that skull pile node. And guys, that's as easy as it is with the patrol route system. So you can imagine if you have, and I messed up our dungeon when I was moving the camera, but say you have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 minions going around. And believe me, for people, Paul, I know you've played this many times, these minions will go all over the dungeon with this unpredictable movement pattern. It's something very, very cool in the game. So you never know where they're going to go next. So that pretty much is the patrol route system. It's a very easy game mechanic, but I want to show you something about corners. Let me reposition the camera and show you this. Okay, so let me show you about this right here. We're over here in the Well of Eternity quadrant. How many squares are within a quadrant? 6 by 6. And you're going to notice this when I was designing this system in the dungeons. Take a look, if you can hopefully see this right here. There's a purple footprint here. There's the blue one right here, orange and green. Sometimes in the corners or like on these edges, you're going to notice there's like the purple footprint here is on the green patrol route. So what that means is, let's say that our skeletal grunt friend again was here, and it happened to, generate again 4 movement, and the purple footprint came up. Well, if we look, there's no purple, path or patrol route, but there's the purple footprint. That simply means it's going to move on the green one. Base movement of 2, roll of a 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's as simple as that. And I'll just, before we close this out, notice here we're over here in the Chapel of Light South region. Let's say, it generated 5 movement on its next turn. 1, 2, 3. Well, notice here there's an orange footprint, meaning, notice it's associated with the green patrol route right here. So if orange was rolled, if it rolled orange, or in its brain it thought to move on the orange patrol route, you're simply going to move it on the green one, because that's where the monster footprint is. And guys, that's as easy as the patrol route system is. Very, very simple game mechanic, but it's very effective on giving us that living dungeon experience. Next, before we move on to raiding minions and vagrant minions, let's talk about guardians and how they move. Okay, we're about to talk about the guardians and how they move, but I just wanted to sum this up with the patrol route system in regards to minions. So hopefully you can see, by having, I don't know how many minions you want in your dungeon, all of the patrol routes are networked together through those monster spawn points and skull pile nodes. So they will go all throughout this dungeon, and it's just such a cool experience with the game. And I'm telling you guys from the heart, it was, ever since I was a kid, I wanted that, and here it is now in Dungeon Crusade, and I just love how it came out. It just adds such a great immersive thematic thing to the game. So I hope you enjoyed that. So, but we're not done yet. We're going to talk about guardians. First of all, refresh your memory, and I happen to grab the expert difficulty monster deck. There's normal difficulty monsters, expert have the green, and heroic have blue. So there's 8, hopefully it comes in focus. There it is. So there's 8 guardians a game. There's Banevik, Horus, Red Widow, Razorfang, Lord Blackhand, the leader of the Blackhand army, Dreadthorn, the undead dragon, Nefarion, and Magmus. He is the toughest guardian in the game, and he was spawned in the underworld. There's a whole underworld in the story of Dungeon Crusade. through the Avalon Adventure board game and the quests, you'll learn a little bit about it. But we're going to use Bainvik for our example of the patrol route system and how Guardians move. So like we discussed, and here's his miniature here. Freddie Lopez painted all of the monsters and creatures and heroes in the game. Absolutely awesome art. So, Bainvik here. Take a look at his monster card. And remember, level 1 monsters don't have any special abilities. They can level up to level 4, but on their level 1 monster card, this gave me a chance to write all of the origin stories about each of the Guardians. Red Widow has a really cool one. Check that one out. But let's take a look at some of the stats here on Bainvik's card. We're going to be focusing on this one right here. This is the movement one. Notice it says 2Q. You guys probably know what that means, right? What that's telling us is Bainvik will move 2 quadrants on his turn. So you can see Guardians in the game can make huge movement through the dungeon. But if you take someone like Horus here, that's a very cool story about Horus too. It's going to say 4Q because he's on his fiery evil steed here. He can move 4 quadrants through the dungeon. Guardians are super tough, and as you can see, they can make a lot of, movement throughout the dungeon. Your heroes, you got to keep on your toes with your heroes when the Guardians start spawning into the dungeon. Let's go down to the dungeon. Let's take a look at Bainvik and how he would move in the dungeon on the patrol route system. Okay, and so we'll use this quadrant right here. This is the Chamber of Kings South. And again, there's that monster spawn point with 1. So we're just going to say that we had a Guardian spawn in. 1 was rolled on the D8, so therefore Bainvik will spawn on the 1 monster spawn point. So it's his turn, and he is going to move. Now remember, looking at his monster card, it's telling us he's going to move 2 quadrants. He's right here, and here are all the patrol routes. So you do not use the D6, of course. All you're going to do is roll the patrol route die. And you know what? Since we use this one, let's bring out the new classic skull one. This is my favorite. Here, exact same thing. It just has skulls instead of monster footprints. So, and Guardians never raid. They never escape. They watch over the dungeon, and they are there to protect the dungeon and kill heroes. So Guardians will never raid. All you're going to do is roll the patrol route die. So let's see where remember, just like his little brain, it's spinning around thinking where he's going to move in the dungeon. So let's roll. Okay, so Bainvik is telling us he is going to go on the orange patrol route. You're going to follow this around, follow the monster footprint, and he ends up here in the Tomb of St. Viticus, move you over, on the orange patrol route. So you can see that was some pretty big movement to go from there all the way over to that quadrant. He has 1 movement remaining, right? So he's kind of thinking again, where is he going to go? Roll. And now he's going to go on the blue patrol route. And I'm glad that this came up here. So we're going to position the camera. And I'm glad that we notice there's a minion here on 2. The blue patrol route is right here. So he's going to move on the blue patrol route. Now notice that there's a minion right there. I'm going to set him right here so you can kind of see. Bainvik would end his movement right there. On his next turn, he would have to use 1 of his movement to move on to what's that? It's a monster spawn point. He would move on that. That would be 1 of his movement. So in a way, that's good for the heroes, that he has to use that 1 to move on to that. And again, he would just roll green. He would move over into here, into the Chamber of Kings North. And a minion or guardian can occupy a skull point node or a monster spawn point long enough to pick up a patrol route. So in a way, they, 2 monsters, 2 minions, 2 guardians, what have you, can occupy that momentarily to pick up a new patrol route. And that's as simple as that is. But let's just say that our Cultist of Zal was not there. he was here, he'd go on the blue patrol route, he would end his turn there. So considering, even though he moved 2 quadrants, he started out here, he made a lot of way over here, and especially if that was Horus, he would have another 2 movements, so he could end up anywhere. But again, a living dungeon experience, and you'll never know where Banevic or Horus or Razorfang will go on their turn. It's always unpredictable. So I hope you enjoyed this. I was thinking maybe I have to go over anything else, but I think that, guys, that's about it. That sums up the patrol route system. I hope you enjoyed that. Next, we're going to kind of shoot back into the monster phase, and we're going to discuss vagrant minions and raiding minions. We did talk about vagrant minions, but we're going to show you raiding and these bloody arrows on the dungeon floor. Okay, guys, we're going to shoot back into the monster phase. So picture this is like connected to the prior video. As you know, there's the upkeep phase, encounter phase, guardian phase, hero phase, monster phase, and then back to the top of another turn. So first thing you're going to do is consult your minion population track. For this game we're playing, there should be 5 minions in the dungeon. However, surveying the dungeon, there are only 4 minions in the dungeon, meaning we're going to have to spawn in a minion. And we're going to pick on our skeletal grunt again. Like I said, I know I've said this in other videos, but if you're new, let me go over this real quick. These are the monster spawn points. There's 8 of them, and it kind of goes around like in a clock. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So you're going to use a D8. How do we spawn in a minion? Very simple. You're going to roll a D8, and we're going to cheat if 6 doesn't come up. Okay, well, look at that. 6 did come up. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to draw from the minion, level 1 minion deck, because we're working on Quest Table 1. Here's a quick pro Crusader tip. If you're on Quest Table 1, level 1 minions are going to populate the dungeon. If you're on level 2 quest, level 2 minions are going to populate the dungeon. And when you're working on Quest Table level 3, what level of minion is going to spawn in? Level 3. Very, very easy. Okay, so we're going to draw from the level 1 minion monster deck, and wouldn't you know it, it is our favorite skeletal grunt, our blue one. And here he is right here. And as a quick side note, I know I've said this before, the crystals here, you're going to notice there's a blue, green, and red one. Blue ones are like normal minions. This has the origin stories I wrote. Red and green are elite minions. And of course the crystals go with their base, so that's how you can keep track of everything. So as it is, our blue skeletal grunt is going to spawn in on 6, which is right here, and this is where I wanted to have our demo at. Okay, so let's spawn it in right here. Okay, so now our dungeon has 5 minions. We're ready to go. So next we're going to say that since this was the last one, remember the monster area, that you're going to place the newest creature monster at the very last part of that row of when you are putting down your monster cards. We talked about that in the other video. So this skeletal grunt will be the last one to activate. So let's talk about the raid die and how that works. Yes, we talked about it before, but we'll go over it quickly. Okay, we'll go over this real quick. Right here is your raid difficulty chart. We're going to refer back to our scenario page, and right here, raid difficulty. See these values right here? That represents dice. So D20, D12, D10, D8, D6, D4, and there's kind of like a hidden difficulty. Picture it like insane. You could use a D3. What the raid difficulty is this. It's how likely a vagrant minion is to convert into a raiding minion. So for 20 here, which we have it set right here at 20, you set this before the game. You can of course change that during the game if you want to come up with some home brew rules, but the official rules are once you set the raid difficulty, boom, it's set for the rest of the game. So let me grab a D20 here. And what that simply means is if a 20, when minions spawn, let me say this first. When minions spawn into the dungeon, they're known as vagrant minions. You know, they're just walking through the dungeon aimlessly. You know, that's their home. So our skeletal grunt friend here that spawned in over on the 6 is a vagrant minion. On its turn, which we're going to do, you're going to roll the d6 for movement. You're going to roll the patrol route die, of course, because it's going to pick up a patrol route die, and the raid die. So for our game here, which is the easiest setting, novice, you're going to roll a d20. And it's basically like this. If a 20 would come up, there we go. If a 20 would come up, boom, they're going to convert into a raiding minion. 19 and lower, nope, they're going to continue on as a vagrant minion and just go about their business. But if that 20 would come up, you're going to take a raid token to signify they're a raiding minion, place it on their minion card, and they're going to head out of the dungeon to try to escape and raid the village. We'll touch on that. But for now, let's just go over here and do a turn with the skeletal grunt so I can show you everything in action. Okay, and with those 3 dice, you can just make one roll. You don't have to do separate rolls unless you want to. And remember, our skeletal grunt has a base movement of 2, plus it will generate movement with a d6. So we're going to take our d6 here. We're going to use this. We'll use the classic skull, patrol route die, and the raid die. Okay? The first thing you're going to process, of course, is the raid die. So let's roll. You'll get this after I show you this. It's super, super easy. Okay, consult your raid die. Is that a 20? Nope. There's no raid. It's going to continue as a vagrant minion. It generated 6 movement, plus it's 2, that's 8, right? And its little brain is spinning, telling us it is going to move on the purple patrol route 8 spaces. And purple's right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm glad that came up. Now notice, I'm really happy that came up. Okay, so now it has 2 movement remaining, correct? So this thing is spinning in its head again. Where am I going to go for the last 2 movement? Green. Green is right here. It's going to continue. And that's exactly how that works. Now I want to, you know what, since we're here, I do want to, we might as well touch on this. Guardians and minions have a line of sight of 4. And what I mean is, if a minion ever sees a hero, 1, 2, 3, 4, boom, right here, you see Sir Brennus here, they instantly convert into, yes, a raiding minion. I'm glad that actually that this came up for this. 1, 2, 3, 4. It sees the hero. It thinks the heroes are here. You know what? I'm going to raid the village, thus raising the terror level. Let's say it ended its move here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nope, it would not raid because remember, it only has a 4 for line of sight. And now let me show you, since we talked about that, notice the bloody arrow right here. Hopefully you can see there's one here, there's one here. The red bloody arrows are for raiding minions. They use those to get to the siege tile to escape and head over to the village. Okay, so let me set something up here. I'm going to clear out the heroes and we'll set this up. Be right back. Okay, so here's a little demo for you, and this will knock it home. Remember, red bloody arrows, those are used to show how a minion will exit the dungeon, but then we're going to touch on the ones that have numbers. So this was the monster phase, correct? That would be the end of a turn. We're going to go to the top of the next one. We're going to do upkeep, encounter, guardian phase, hero phase. Now, Sir Brennus, I cleared out those other heroes. Let's just say it was him here. Sir Brennus, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but Sir Brennus has, actually here it is right here. Let's just show you. Here's his movement here, D6 plus a 2, exact same thing. So Sir Brennus has a base movement of 2, and will generate more movement with a D6. And since we're talking about this, if a hero has a lit torch, that adds a +2 to their base movement, so he would have 4. So we're just going to say that Sir Brennus, of course, is going to try to attack the skeletal grunt. And let's just say he rolled a 5 on the d6, so that's 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to be getting into combat in the next few videos. So we're just going to say some combat happened, and he was unsuccessful in killing that skeletal grunt. Hero phase is over. We're in the monster phase now. Of course, you're going to check for minion population, and now it's the skeletal grunt's turn. They're no longer going to use the patrol route die. Remember, they're going to follow the bloody arrows to exit the dungeon. Of course, they're not going to use the raid die because they're already a raiding minion. All it's going to use is the d6 to generate movement. Its primary focus is to head out of the dungeon. But I want to talk about now, in this case, hit and run tactics. Hit and run tactics is simply this. If a minion, I'm going to move him back here. Let's say there was a space there. Hit and run tactics is this. As a minion is escaping the dungeon, if it ever becomes adjacent to a hero, it's going to try to hit the hero, attack, and then continue its movement. So just picture this crazy skeletal warrior, like he's going to go up, he's going to try to hit Sir Brennus and try to put damage on him, and then continue to move. So that's what I wanted to touch on. This is a perfect example to touch on everything here. So let's say that this is the situation where it's at. It's going to roll the d6 for movement. Okay, it was only a 2, but I'm going to say it rolled a 6, okay? So that would be 8 with its base movement of 2. So 1, it has 7 7 movement remaining, excuse me. It's going to attack Sir Brennus. Again, we're going to talk about combat with minions in the upcoming videos. Let's say he put 1 damage on Sir Brennus, okay? He's going to continue now to exit the dungeon, following the bloody arrow. So he has 7 movement remaining. 1, yes, monsters and heroes can jump over each other in Dungeon Crusade or move past them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It is almost on its way out of the dungeon. 1 more step, and once it exits, you're going to place this on the village board. Let's just do that right now. Let's just say it did have 1 movement left, so I could show you what a raiding minion does if it escapes the dungeon and hits the village. But just remember something. Notice there's a white dotted line here. As soon as it goes past that, boom, it's out of the dungeon, it's at the village. So let's head over to the village and I'll show you what happens. Okay, and first I hope you guys are enjoying this new showcase video. I'm having a really great time talking about the patrol route system and raiding minions. So, and I always love hanging out with you guys to get you more acclimated to the game. Okay, so remember, our skeletal grunt had 1 movement remaining. Boom, it is in the village, and it's just causing all kinds of chaos and terror, and it's trying to kill villagers. Here is your terror level right here. What happens when a raiding minion hits a village board? You're going to move that up by 1. Now our terror level is on 7. If the red marker ever reaches the skull, your heroes have lost the scenario. The village is just terrorized, it was overrun, it's done. You're going to have to replay the scenario. Guys, that's as simple as that is with raiding minions, but let me show you something. This is an orc siege breaker. So when I created all these special abilities, check this one out. And remember, green and red are your elite. So this orc siege breaker has a special ability, which is rampage. If the orc siege breaker raids the village, it rolls 1d20. On a result of 16 to 20, raise the terror level by 1. So not only, let's say that was the orc siege breaker, we'd already raise it up by 1, but now we have to roll the d20 to see if it's going to rampage. Look at that, it did a nat 20. Move it up again. So there's a little surprise for you that there's some of these monsters do have special abilities like rampage. And remember, with the difficulty, this is just normal difficulty. When you go to expert and heroic, that value is going to get more bigger. So instead of 16, I think that expert is 14 to 20 and heroic is 12 through 20. So there's more of a chance that it will rampage through the village. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this. We're going to touch on one last thing, and that's the bloody arrows with the numbers on them. And so let's go over to the dungeon and we'll wrap up the video with that. Okay, everyone, for our last little demo here, which I think you're going to enjoy, we're going to talk about these bloody arrows that have numbers on them. So if we look here, hopefully you can see that. Like over here, it says 1 to 3, and over here it says 4 to 6. And when I created the system for the bloody arrows, I wanted to give the minions even more of a little bit more of an AI. So your heroes will never know where they're going to exit out of a certain quadrant, okay? And we have our friendly Blackwood Prowler waiting in the wings for this demo, okay? We're gonna say that our Blackwood Prowler has converted into a raiding minion, and it's going to exit the dungeon. And just real quick, I thought you'd like to see this. These things are quite deadly against your heroes. First of all, notice that movement. Of course, it rolls a d6, but it has +5 base movement. So a Blackwood Prowler can move quite quickly. And this doesn't have to do it with movement, but hopefully we can get this into focus. Its special ability is the Blood Moon Amulet. And when Freddie, of course, Freddie Lopez, amazing. When I had him paint this, he said, you gotta have a Blood Moon Amulet on there. So Blood Moon, and then the origin story will tell you what that is about. But Blood Moon Amulet, before any warfare roll is made, the Blackwood Prowler rolls 1d20. On a result of 16 to 20, the amulet activates. All warfare values, right here, all warfare values gain +3 for this combat round. And we're going to be getting into this. I think this is going to be the next video. I want to talk to you about true party building, which was paramount to me in Dungeon Crusade, and the 6 different warfare types. I'm going to save that because you know me, I'll start talking now, but we can see the Blackwood Prowler is proficient in arcane warfare, spiritual warfare, and chaos warfare. So if this Blood Moon Amulet activates, it's going to bolster all those warfare values. That'll be a 13, that'll be a 12, and that'll be a 14. And quite simply, this number here is the damage. But you're going to roll those colored dice for whatever warfare types it is. So I just wanted to point that out. So let's just say he's right over here. He's about to enter into the ancient runes, and we have those bloody arrows with numbers. So first going to roll to generate movement. Okay, so that's a 4, and 5 is a 9. So what you're going to do is this: 1, 2, 3, stop right there, because you're entering into a quadrant that has those 1 to 3, 4 to 6. And again, kind of like a little, this thing spinning over his head like his brain, that Blackwood Prowler is thinking, okay, do I want to go this way north, or do I want to go west to head out, east to head out into this quadrant? So it just gives, as the player, you're kind of uncertain where this thing is going to go. So you're going to just roll a d6. Okay, 5 came up. So it's telling us I'm going to go this way to finish my movement. So what we had 9, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And you always move them as close, move you up there. You always move them as close to that bloody arrow as possible, so you can see the Blackwood Prowler next turn will come over here to the siege tile and out and over to the dungeon. So that's really all there is to the patrol route system and the bloody arrow system. So remember, minion enters into a quadrant that has those numbers. You're going to halt right there, hold on to its movement, roll a d6, and then consult the bloody arrow. So in this case, it would go this way. And again, it just gives, the monsters a little more AI, a little more unpredictability, and just keeps you on your toes and your heroes. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Let's pull the camera back and wrap this up. And before we wrap everything up, I just wanted to touch on this kind of like a coming attraction kind of thing. And actually, we're going to talk in a second about the next video. So after that one, I would really like to do a video and show you guys the 6 warfare types in the land of Avalon or in Dungeon Crusade. And real quick, we have here physical warfare, and of course these are associated with the dice that you're going to roll when you're combating. Physical warfare, ranged, arcane, mythical, spiritual, and chaos warfare. And like I said, something that was paramount to me in creating this game was true party building. And that's something I think a lot of games sort of miss. So I wanted to fully address it. And that's where, we chatted about rallying heroes together. So all that is coming up in a video, but I just wanted to point out, the warfare types and the warfare dice here. So next few videos, we're going to be going over that. Okay, and now we're going to wrap it up. And everyone, man, I love making this video. I love talking about the patrol route system, and I really would like to go play the game right now after talking about all this stuff. It's just, I'm just so busy right now with everything, reviewing, the proofs, and just getting back to everyone, but we're going to be playing soon. Again, there's the patrol route dice, there's the monster footprint one, the skull print one. My point is, I hope you enjoyed learning about the patrol route system and this living dungeon experience. I really enjoyed doing this video immensely. And now, you've learned about raiding minions and the bloody arrows. If you've watched this series, you probably have a really good idea how this game works. Let's see what I was going to say. Next, excuse me. The next video, though, is going to be up very soon. And I'm going to throw it into the Spotlight series. This is one I talked about in, I don't know, it was a video or two ago. It's a speed mod. And what it is you can use different dice if you want a more quicker, more peppier game of Dungeon Crusade. And you know what, let's touch on it real quick. Since you already know, you see that heroes and monsters use a D6 to generate movement. The speed mod is simply, we're going to go more in depth. You can substitute that, it's like a homebrew rule. Use a D8. That way, you're going to have more movement, thus a faster game for the heroes and the monsters. Or use a D10. That's even a more quicker game. Or you could use a D12 and it'll have a super fast game. Or you could use, I'm sorry, I meant to get some dice that had pips on them. Kind of like a hero quest, a tip of the hat to hero quest. If you have dice that, they have, well, you could use these, but the ones that have the little dots, the pips, you could roll that and generate movement for your heroes and monsters with that. So that's going to be the next video. And I just want to dedicate that for those of you who want to play a more peppier, a more quicker game of Dungeon Crusade. The speed mod is the way to go for that. Okay, guys. I'm going to get back to work here. I hope you enjoyed this video over the patrol route system and raiding minions and bloody arrows and everything. Thank you, as always, for your time and your support. I truly think you can see how much I love hanging out with you and doing these videos. But most importantly, it's getting you acclimated to play the game. And, when the whole showcase series is done, people can just click on something and learn about it. That's what I've always wanted to do for fans of the game. All right, guys, we will fade out with the huge banner here of Dungeon Crusade, and I will see you in the next video, which will be the speed mod. Have a great day, guys, and I'll talk to you soon.